Beyonce and Jay-Z, two of the most talented, successful, and acclaimed musicians of all time. Jay-Z changed the game, and without him, music, and more specifically hip-hop, would not be in the medium it is today.
I'm lucky. I'm a lucky person. You know, I had a talent to do something that I really loved, and it took me to places I thought I'd never see. I mean, my situation could have turned out differently, much differently. My story is a bit of an anomaly.
Beyonce rose to fame as the central member of pop R&B group Destiny's Child before embarking on a multi-platinum, record-breaking solo career. She has become a fashion icon, a feminist hero, and a well-respected voice for her community.
We have to use our voices and raise the awareness and be a part of something where we can leave our legacy and help improve this world.
Beyonce and Jay-Z are no stranger to the spotlight, but despite being one of the most well-known husband and wife duos in the world, they have successfully kept most of their private life private. Still, from their first date at Nobu to their secret wedding to the birth of their 3 children and every musical collaboration in between, this is the complete story of Beyonce and Jay-Z. Born in Brooklyn in 1969, writing came easy to Sean Corey Carter, with words constantly filling his mind. He remembers how for days he filled page after page of a notebook. Then he would bang out a beat on the table, his bedroom window, whatever had a flat surface. He would practice from the time he woke up until the time he went to sleep.
Jay-Z was raised in the Marcy Projects in New York, which are some of the truly worst areas in New York. You know, you have a lot of rap artists singing about growing up in the hood or in the ghetto who were middle class or who were like Kanye West with a mother who was a professor in university. But Jay-Z actually grew up in the projects. It's authentically real when he sings about that.
Carter's father left when he was just a child, and his mother, Gloria, raised him in Marcy houses, a housing project in Brooklyn's Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood, a Black community that has generated a stream of musical talent, from the notorious B.I.G. to Lil' Kim, Mos Def to Aaliyah. The neighborhood was, however, also seen as ground zero in Black America's battle with the crack cocaine epidemic of the 1980s. It wasn't long until Carter found himself embroiled in the sorry business, selling crack to those around him. As the 80s progressed, Carter became even more involved in the hip-hop scene, a music and dance genre from the Bronx that was rapidly transforming youth culture. Subwoofers and speakers 7 foot tall filled the landscape of the courtyards at the Marcy houses, the epic battles shaking the projects to their core. Carter recalls that he was living his life on the streets from the age of 13. When talking about the allure of being a drug-pushing hustler, something he claims to have not given up until the very eve of the release of his debut album, Reasonable Doubt, in 1996. Beyonce Giselle Knowles was born and raised in Houston, Texas, along with her younger sister Solange.
She had a really simple childhood. She was singing and dancing to class like a lot of little girls do. In fact, it was her dance teacher that found out that Beyonce could actually sing. She was in class one time and noticed that Beyonce was humming a tune all the way up to the high notes. And she thought, this girl needs some singing lessons.
When she was 8, Beyonce and childhood friend Kelly Rowland met Latavia Robertson while at an audition for an all-girl entertainment group. They were placed into a group called Girls Time with 3 other girls and rapped and danced on the talent show circuit in Houston.
It's not always been easy for Beyonce, and the public perception is that things come very easily to her, but actually, when she was pretty young, she had a bit of a fall because she was signed up to a record company as Girls' Time, as a girl band, and her dad, very hardworking, determined for her, must have thought this is it. However, they were dropped after a very short time. Now, many people, this would be the knock that made them come crashing down. I think it made Beyonce stronger.
In the early 90s, they started whittling down the group to 4 singers altogether, and that's where Destiny's Child was formed. And Matthew Knowles became the band's manager, and he quit his job and he managed the group. But, you know, times were tough because they weren't making a lot of money. They were performing locally in and around the Houston area. So at that point, it became really, really tough, and Matthew and Tina Knowles actually separated.
The 1997 song, Where I'm From, paints a grim picture of his life in the Marcy Projects, which gives his listener an insight into what it was like to grow up in Brooklyn. The song's unforgiving, blunt opening line, I'm from where the hammer's rung, news cameras never come. He describes the place where life expectancy is so low, we making out wills at 18. It is clear that even on Jay-Z's second album, he's not trying to shy away from his real-life story of the hustler.
But most times find themselves locked up behind bars, that all. I'm from where they ball and green rhyme stars. I'm from Marcy, son. Just thought I'd remind y'all. Cough up a lung where I'm from, Marcy, son. Ain't nothing nice. Many places, but I'm Brooklyn's own. Cough up a lung where I'm from, Marcy, son. Ain't nothing nice. Many places, but I'm Brooklyn's own. Cough up a lung where I'm from, Marcy, son. Ain't nothing nice.
When he was very passionate about rapping, I think for him, rapping was a way to escape some of what was going on in his real world. And it was something he was naturally very gifted at. So he was around 19 and he started rapping with Jazzo, and they actually collaborated on a song that went on to get on MTV. And that was kind of his first toehold in fame and show business.
After being turned down by several labels in the industry, Jay-Z, Damon Dame Dash, and Kareem Biggs Burke started their own record label. They pooled their resources to form Rockefeller Records. The foundation of the label occurred in 1995 and acted as an independent outlet for Carter's debut, Reasonable Doubt. Once Jay-Z as a character was cemented after the universal critical acclaim for Reasonable Doubt, he reached a new distribution deal with Def Jam in 1997. But it wasn't until 1998 when Jay's big break came. Hard Knock Life, Ghetto Anthem, provided him with his biggest hit to date, reaching number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the UK singles chart.
I think the interesting thing about No 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 is the fact that you don't really see the Destiny's Child style. It hasn't emerged yet. They're in a club, they get introduced and they say, hey, check out this new group, and they come up on stage and they perform the song. But they don't really have that signature style that they had yet when it came to their wardrobe or their hair. You even see Kelly Rowland with a tiny little pixie cut. She doesn't even look like the Kelly Rowland we know now. And Beyonce, she's baby Beyonce at that point. So it's really interesting to see everyone, and they're trying to figure out what their sound is like, what their look is like, but they're on their way.
No 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 shows a lot of sophistication. It's a very sultry, kind of sexy video, the way they're dressed and the whole vibe within the video. They were showing that, hey, we're not little girls anymore, we're now adults. And the song was very strong, and it had, you know, unusual production and stuff in it, and just really set them up as this is a force to be reckoned with.
The group released their multi-platinum, critically acclaimed second album, The Writings on the Wall, in 1999. The record features some of the group's widely known songs, such as Bills, 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 the group's first #1 single.
Then you ask to use my car. Drive it all day and don't fill up the tank. And you have the audacity to even come and step to me. Ask to hold something from me until you get your check next week. You trifling, good for nothing type of brother. Silly me, why haven't I found another? A baller. When times get hard, I need someone to help me out.
And we were involved more with this album. Yeah, and the album is more conceptual this time. Beyonce produced a majority of the vocals on the album. And if you notice when you listen to the album that the vocals are more in your face this time and it's tight, and it's all because Beyonce hooked it up. Yeah, made it run a lot smoother too.
You thought what? So? Huh. Can you pay my bills? Keep paying telephone bills. Keep paying my automobile. A lot of y'all, so
Back in 1999, a year after VOL.2 was released, and 2 years after the death of the notorious B.I.G., Jay-Z was the biggest young star hip-hop had to offer. It's easy to see why his next album, VOL.2, Life and Times of S. Carter, was hotly anticipated.
It's like the cherry on top. You know, you make music and people accept your music all around the world. You sell records or whatever, but then you're nominated for awards, so it's like the cherry on top. It's great.
This is when things became serious for him. It seemed to be a push into the right direction and led to the release of The Blueprint in 2001, which is often cited as not only Jay-Z's best album, but one of the best albums of all time. The album's lead single, Izzo, was the first big hit for Kanye West, who produced 4 of the album's tracks and kicked off the craze for early soul samples in popular music.
Early on in Kanye's career, he was famous for speeding up samples of old soul records, known as a producer, but he also had the desire to want to be a rapper and had been practicing. He was actually pretty good at it, but because his background didn't really match the gangster rapper image of the times, a lot of labels didn't really want to take the risk in him, didn't think he'd sell, and wanted to keep him behind the desk doing the production. And it was really only the success he had on Jay-Z's Blueprint album and that relationship he had with him that enabled him to actually finally go ahead and make his own rap tracks. I guess the rest is history because he's proved them all wrong.
In this clip, you can hear Jay-Z sampling the Jackson 5's Want You Back.
Cops wanna knock me, DA wanna box me in, but somehow I beat them charges like Rocky. H to the Izzo, B to the Izzy. Not guilty, he who does not feel me is not real to me, therefore he doesn't exist. So poof, Vamoose, son of a bitch. H to the Izzo, B to the Izzy. With Shizzle, my nizzle used to dribble down at VA. H to the Izzo, B to the Izzy. That's the anthem, get your damn.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
Destiny's Child newfound success was not enough to keep the group together. Problems concerning money and decision-making powers drove them apart, and Robertson and Luckett left Destiny's Child. They later sued the group and manager Matthew Knowles, a move that created a stir in the media. The new Destiny's Child, now including Farrah Franklin and Michelle Williams, felt frustrated that so many media reports focused on the band's troubles rather than their music. 5 months after joining, Franklin left the group. The remaining members claimed that this was due to missed promotional appearances and concerts. In May 2001, Destiny's Child released their 3rd studio album, Survivor. That was a massive commercial success, reaching #1 on the Billboard 200. In the production process, Knowles assumed more control in co-producing and co-writing almost the entire album.
I wrote Survivor along with about 10 other songs on the album, and it's really great that I got a chance to write on this album. I also wrote Independent Woman and Jumpin' Jumpin', so it's great.
Survivor is a song for everyone. If you've survived breast cancer, you know, AIDS or anything, losing your job, divorce, whatever. It's a song to let you know that you can make it. Only if you work harder, you can take it. I mean, it's just a wonderful song, and when everyone hears it, it's a song to where you'll just feel so strong. You know, it won't even, it's like before the song even ends, you're crunk, meaning you're strong. But I mean, it was a wonderful song. We were all in the studio in tears and crying, and just, it's one of those kind of songs, and it's a wonderful song that Beyonce did. It's wonderful.
The Survivor album was another amazing accomplishment. It just lifted Destiny's Child into another stratosphere with, I mean, amazing songs on it, like the actual Survivor song. And the video for that song was like one of the best videos of all time at that time when it came out.
I think it was around that time, you know, when music videos were really prominent. I remember coming in from school and you'd bang on the TV and it would be there, and it really stood out to me with the three women, the thunderstorms, you had the beach, you had all the sass that they were bringing, particularly Beyonce, who was kind of fronting the three in that video.
This is where we really see that signature style come into play. Tina Knowles was a group's official stylist. They were using a lot of the clothing that they had created, Beyonce and her mother, from House of Darion, so a lot of their fashions were on display in the video. And the ladies were sexy and sultry. They're crawling along the beach in the sand and through the water. You definitely see that their sound is defined. You see that their look is defined. They know who they are, and they're feeling really good about Destiny's Child at that point.
From looking at their videos and listening to their music, it was kind of clear that Beyonce was always pushed to the forefront of the band. She was the focal point. Even though the other girls, there was no doubting they could sing, her voice was a little bit more commercial than theirs, and I think that resonated with the fans.
Jay-Z met Beyonce back in 1997 when she was just starting out with Destiny's Child. He heard her, they were working in the same area, and he heard her wailing a Wyclef Jean song, and he was like, this girl is good. And then she started rapping, and he was even more impressed. So for them, it was a professional relationship, and then it built upon a friendship before they ever got involved romantically.
Beyonce was the last band member to release an album of her own. However, she was featured on Jay-Z's '03 Bonnie and Clyde that was released in October 2002.
I definitely think Bonnie and Clyde started the whole Jay-Z and Beyonce romance. I think you can kind of see the chemistry in the video there, that they were, sparks were flying. I know they were acting in the video, but you can kind of tell sometimes whether they're just putting it on or there's that real emotion there, and I think they had that.
Jay-Z was invited by MTV to go to their spring break. Now, those of us who watched MTV back then will remember that spring break was this kind of wild freestyle. You would never see it on TV today. But you had artists kind of get up on stage outside at the beach, and they had like real teenagers on spring break in the audience dancing. Now, that is the first time that Jay-Z and Beyonce met. She was there with Destiny's Child. He was there as Jay-Z. And he was a fair bit older than she was, and it wasn't like they performed together. They certainly didn't have the same style of music at that time. They met on the plane, and they actually were seated together next to each other, and they started up a conversation. They didn't immediately start dating. In fact, Jay-Z and Beyonce wouldn't even see each other again for almost 2 years after they first met on the plane. But what started in that conversation in the air was a friendship, and they would text each other and call each other, and at the time, Beyonce actually had another boyfriend. Jay-Z and Beyonce were famously secretive about their relationship for years. They never talked about it, they weren't photographed together, and it was all kind of known that they were a couple, but they really, really tried to keep it out of the spotlight. I remember interviewing Beyonce when she was in the movie Dreamgirls, and we were at the Cannes Film Festival, and I had been specifically told not to ask her about rumors that she and Jay-Z were engaged. And her publicist was adamant she could not talk about this. And of course I did ask, but I waited till the end of the interview, and she was absolutely lovely and said, you know, I don't want to comment on that, but she didn't deny it. And that's when we knew, really, that these two were serious.
It's interesting in pop culture whenever, you know, people will speculate, you know, it ends up, whenever there's like the speculation and mystery, it ends up making something bigger than it probably needs to be. I mean, you can look at it with like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, you know, and I think in the pop world, Jay-Z and Beyonce kind of occupied a similar kind of role, even though obviously neither of them had like a major pre-existing relationship. Here you have somebody like Jay-Z, who's like playboy figure with like a million, you know, has a song called Girls, Girls, Girls that came out the year before that, and all of a sudden, you know, Beyonce is suddenly the object of his affection.
The reason why the relationship between Jay-Z and Beyonce was kept a secret is business. You get it in record companies with artists. The minute an artist falls in love, they're frightened that the sales will be affected by it. So they're always like, yeah, don't tell anyone you're having a relationship, so keep it down. Because they want you to be accessible to everyone. They want everyone drooling over you. You know, they want to have the posters on the wall. And if you know that the person who's a poster on your wall is married or, you know, conceiving with child or something, it's not quite the same, is it?
Beyonce's first solo album, Dangerously in Love, was released on June 24, 2003. The album sold 317,000 copies in its opening week.
This was extremely successful. She did so well with this, and this really established her as a solo artist, which was so important because she was so identified with Destiny's Child, but this took her into the stratosphere. And you know, Beyonce is not just a star, she's a superstar.
Well, the first solo album was a massive success, obviously topped the charts. It produced probably some of her biggest singles on there. Again, continuing that theme that she started in Destiny's Child, that independent woman, but this time with maybe a more sexier edge now that she had kind of got a little bit older and confident to kind of strike out on her own. I think that was the perfect sound for her to go into, following on from Destiny's Child.
Not long after their first collaboration, the superstar couple dropped Crazy in Love.
Well, you know what it was? I first heard it on the radio. I remember hearing it on the radio and going, it's just like, I can't, this is just so, you know, like a James Brown song. When you hear a James Brown song and you just can't, it's so good, you can't, your face is contorted and the beat is so good, you can't keep still. It's like, oh man, I'm trying to do the dishes. It was all going off, you know. And then when I saw the video, that was it. The video is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It was the way that she walked on the road there. It was a dirty road with a broken down car, but the way she did that walk, I mean, and I always thought that Naomi Campbell was the queen of the catwalk because she's amazing when she does that catwalk. Naomi's famous for it, but Beyonce tore it up.
Really captured the magic of Beyonce saying, here I am, I'm going to take over the world, I'm a superstar.
Everyone was talking about it because no one was quite sure if they were sort of together at that time. And it was just, you know, it was, are they, you know, is it real? Are they really together? Is it business or what? It was kind of the early stages. But the chemistry that you saw between Beyonce and Jay-Z in that video was electrifying. And they didn't even actually do anything in terms of kissing or anything like that. But it was just the intensity. It was powerful.
You have all these people that, you know, guys that would never listen to an R&B song ever, but all of a sudden they could rap all the words to Jay-Z's verse on Crazy in Love, and they know all the lyrics to Beyonce. And what you're able to do with those kind of hip-hop R&B collaborations is you're able to kind of, you know, it's what the record industry wants. You know, you have a song that girls like, but then the guys won't hate it. Jay-Z with those collaborations, especially Crazy in Love, was able to kind of rebrand himself into this kind of, you know, family-friendly kind of, you know, mogul.
In 2003, Jay-Z announced that his upcoming album, The Black Album, would be his very last, as he was planning on retiring in order to focus on other ventures, including nurturing more artists under his record company label and focusing on giving back to the community. After the release of Dangerously in Love, Beyonce had planned to produce a follow-up album using several of the leftover tracks. However, this was put on hold so she could concentrate on recording Destiny Fulfilled, the final studio album by Destiny's Child.
The group agreed that they were all ready to work on their own solo albums, and they gave a hint that this was their last album because it was called Destiny Fulfilled. So the clues were already out there.
I think Beyonce made Kelly make the announcement because she didn't want to look like she's, because each of them are solo, but because she's the biggest star, she didn't want to look like I'm leaving to continue my superstar career. She wanted Kelly to do it so that the fans would know that it was still amicable and that all of them were still close friends.
We still talk to each other. I'll call him and say, I'm nervous. Like, my first performance, Beyonce was there. And that helped me out so much. You know what I'm saying? Just to know that she was there and she was supporting me. And we're like that with each other because that's what it's all about. If it wasn't for Destiny's Child, none of us would be here.
In March 2006, Destiny's Child reunited as they were awarded with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
I want to thank everyone for being here, and thank you for supporting us. We started when we were 9 years old, and here we are, getting a Hollywood star. Dreams come true. So thank y'all so much for supporting us. God bless you.
In the same year, Beyonce starred in Dreamgirls, the film version of the 1981 Broadway musical loosely based on The Supremes, received acclaim from critics and grossed $154 million internationally. In the movie, she starred opposite Jennifer Hudson, Jamie Foxx, and Eddie Murphy, playing a pop singer based on Diana Ross.
I did not allow myself studio time, and I said, I'm not gonna be Beyonce the celebrity for this time because I don't want to get confused with this character because she's a singer and she's very, very different from me, but I wanted to make sure I stay focused, with this movie, and I gave it fair opportunity to learn the craft of acting.
During Jay-Z's retirement, he has become involved in philanthropic activities. In 2003, he and his mother, Gloria, founded the Sean Carter Foundation, which is to help individuals facing socioeconomic hardships further their education post-secondary institutions.
I'm lucky. I'm a lucky person. I had a talent to do something that I really loved, and it took me to places I thought I'd never see. My situation could have turned out differently, much differently, So there'll be, my story is a bit of an anomaly, so just making sure that people are prepared for the future and prepared for this world, and especially people that have drive and want to go further. And if, excuse me, and if the thing that's holding them back is something financial, then, I think that, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. So just provide an opportunity for people that, want to further their education and, be successful is important to me. So it's not based on, I was going to go to Harvard, man.
In the world of super secret celebrity weddings, Beyonce and Jay-Z's 2008 nuptials take the cake. Without even telling fans that they were engaged, the duo was spotted picking up a marriage license in New York in April 2008, and it was later confirmed Beyonce and Jay-Z tied the knot on April 4th, 2008.
They walk in and you just get a feeling with the two of them that they are like what you would call Kate and William of the music business. These guys are the royal couple for the music industry. There is absolute respect when they walk in the room. I mean, you've got to see it. It's great to watch. It's actually cool.
Jay-Z has established himself as a successful entrepreneur with a business empire spanning a wide range of industries, from beverages, clothing lines, real estate, record labels, and sport teams. He has stated that his brands are an extension of himself and therefore are very important to him. Crucially, he realized that he should build his own brands rather than promote someone else's. The clothing line Rocawear was established in 1999 and sold for $204 million to Iconics in 2007. For 10 years, between 2003 and 2013, Jay-Z enjoyed his role as part owner of the Brooklyn Nets NBA team.
What I stand here and represent is hope for Brooklyn, New York City. I'm a son of Brooklyn. I'm from Marcy Projects. I look into my godson over there, River. I just think about with his beautiful Wolverine outfit. It's very nice and stylish. From the Tom Ford collection. I think about growing up in New York City. I'm in Brooklyn in Marcy Projects and shooting jump shots and thinking I could make it to the NBA. Now stand here as an owner of a team that's coming back to Brooklyn, and the pride in that and bringing that dream so much closer for people from Marcy, from Tompkins, from Fort Greene, from Lafayette Garden. Thank you. It brings me so much pride that I'm getting a little nervous about it, but I'm very happy, I'm very excited on this day, and we did it again, Brooklyn. Shout out to B.I.G.
Jay-Z's return to music was huge, and his 2008 appearance at Glastonbury is one of the most iconic performances of all time. With the release of Blueprint 3 in 2009 came Jay's biggest hit to date, Empire State of Mind. This song acts as an homage to New York, referencing specific places and people from Carter's youth. It's a song that reveals everything Jay is about and what his music has always represented. At this time, Beyonce released one of her most iconic hits, the #1 song, Single Ladies, Put a Ring on It. The music video for Single Ladies has been parodied and imitated around the world, spawning the first major dance craze of the internet age. Single Ladies infamously did not win Best Video at the MTV Video Awards.
I think Beyonce not winning that VMA in 2009, I guess it was a major shock, but you could see in that ceremony that Beyonce was actually quite horrified by what happened. She wanted to give respect to Taylor. Yeah, she was disappointed that she didn't win it, but she was dignified. But to see Kanye go up there without being prompted and to speak for her, she felt that she needed to kind of do something to give back to Taylor maybe, and that's why when she won later in the ceremony, she brought Taylor back on stage to finish her speech. So that kind of shows you the class that she has.
However, the album did receive 10 nominations at the 2010 Grammy Awards, tying with Lauryn Hill for most Grammy nominations in a single year. The album also enabled Beyoncé to go on her first worldwide concert tour. The tour sold out venues around the world, grossing $119.5 million. Beyoncé took a bit of a break from public life after this tour. And on January 7, 2012, Beyoncé gave birth to a daughter, Blue Ivy Carter. 2013 was an important year in Beyoncé's career. Beyoncé performed the American National Anthem, singing at President Obama's second inauguration in Washington, D.C.
You can't get any higher than actually performing at the White House for the President and the First Lady. Considering that Beyoncé is the First Lady of music, you know, it was cool that she's performing for the First Lady of America.
And the
The following month, Beyoncé performed at the Super Bowl 47 halftime show. The performance stands as the second most tweeted about moment in history at 268,000 tweets per minute. Beyoncé reunited with bandmates Kelly and Michelle for a performance that was widely acclaimed by critics and viewers alike. In December of 2013, Beyoncé unexpectedly dropped her fifth album titled simply Beyoncé on the iTunes Store without any prior announcement or promotion. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 chart, making Beyoncé the first woman in history to have her first 5 albums debut at this position.
The big thing that happened before the release of Lemonade, about a year before, was the big lift fallout at the Met Gala between Jay-Z and Beyonce's sister Solange.
I, like many people, probably have watched it dozens of times and seen all the analysis and read all the commentary and also talked to people who were there or know them. And they all basically concur that Solange was actually really angry at Jay-Z because of something he had done or was doing to Beyonce. It was a way of protecting her sister. And you can see this clearly because when Solange goes for him, Beyonce does nothing. She doesn't try and stop her sister from attacking her husband. She doesn't get in the middle. She doesn't say, like, Solange, come on, calm down. Why are you hitting him? She just stands there like almost like a zombie and lets them go at it. And actually, it's not them going at it. It's just Solange attacking him. He doesn't even move. He just tries to get away from her. He doesn't do anything to protect himself. And his countenance is guilt. Solange's countenance is fury. And Beyonce just looks helpless and like a victim. What's really interesting about that elevator footage is that as they come out, Beyonce is completely composed and there is no sign that anything happened. What we do also know is Beyonce and Solange get in the same car and Jay-Z goes to get in and Beyonce's longtime security guard tells Jay-Z, no, you're not riding with him. So again, after Solange attacks her husband, she embraces her sister and takes her home with her or goes out with her and lets her husband be there by himself and find another ride. What that also says is that Beyonce was very much on Solange's side in that whole incident.
There was that speculation and there was kind of a very confusing statement that Beyonce put out afterwards saying that it had been resolved now. Families have these altercations. Solange wasn't drunk when it happened, but all is now well. But it didn't actually address the situation.
Whatever it was clearly about a woman. It was clearly about something Jay-Z had done to Beyonce or was doing something dodgy. And it was a culmination of a lot. With that lift, I think that's really what pushed Beyonce towards Lemonade and what pushed Jay-Z towards 444. I think it was clear that they couldn't keep it under the surface anymore and they were going to have to tell the truth about what had happened or what was going on. And the carefully controlled image was no longer exactly in place.
Despite hints of a rocky relationship, Beyoncé and Jay-Z laid rumors to rest as they embarked on the joint On the Run tour during the summer of 2014. Beyoncé's 2016 album, Lemonade, was lauded by critics as not only her best, but the singer's most personal work to date. The record addresses her emotional journey after her husband Jay-Z's infidelity in a generational and racial context. Tellingly in an interview with Elle magazine, Beyoncé said, "I hope I can create art that helps people heal, art that makes people feel proud of their struggle. Everyone experiences pain, but sometimes you need to be uncomfortable to transform."
I mean, the interesting thing with that Lemonade album is that Jay-Z kind of helped write some of it, so it's like a couples therapy session, you know, and you got that feeling in there where the anger and the honesty was there.
Jay-Z and Beyoncé were in the studio at the same time, recording and producing work together and separately. And for the couple, the process of making the album was like a therapy session for them. Beyoncé explained the concept of the Lemonade album to Melina Matsoukas, the director of the Formation music video. She wanted to show the historical impact of slavery on Black love and what it had done to the Black family and Black men and women. How we're almost socialized not to be together. The fifth track, Daddy Lessons, is the turning point for the album, with Beyonce linking Jay-Z cheating on her with the experience of her father Matthew Knowles' adultery.
With Formation, probably the big breakout single from that album, that was Beyonce going back to her roots. She was speaking where her mum and her dad were born and how that made her who she is. And again, there was that police brutality message in there, the iconic beginning and ending of that video of her on top of a police car in the flood. While Formation wasn't perhaps personal in the relationship sense, it was very much this is me, and she was putting her whole self out there, you know, from childhood through to where she is now.
Okay, ladies, now let's get information.
2017, Jay-Z released 444, which was his response to the rumors in Lemonade. The album was Jay's most personal yet, and much like his wife's album, garnered universal acclaim from music critics. Hear how personal he becomes on this titular track.
I seen the innocence leave your eyes, I still mourn this death. And I apologize for all the stillborns, cause I wasn't present, your body wouldn't accept it. I apologize to all the women whom I toyed with your emotion, cause I was emotionless. And I apologize, cause at your best, you were love. And because I fall short of what I say I'm all about, your eyes leave with the soul that your body once housed. And you stare blankly into space, thinking of all the time you wasted it on all this basic shit, so I apologize.
The album covers a wide array of topics: his family life, relationships, ongoing hip-hop culture, stereotypes, and racism. He directly references lines from Lemonade on the album. On Beyonce's song, Sorry, she sings, "You better call Becky with the good hair." Jay responds on the track Family Feud by rapping, "Leave me alone, Becky."
I think Lemonade was her confessional and 444 was his. You know, it started out with her talking about the pain he caused, and as well as social commentary on Black Lives Matter and other things that are happening in America, with Black men getting shot by white cops for doing nothing. And Beyonce, like a lot of people, was upset about that and making a statement. But it was also about the pain that Jay-Z caused her in her marriage. And then 444 is Jay-Z basically apologizing. You know, he says, I'm not the man I should have been, and you deserved more, and that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting because so much of rap is like cocky and ballsy and like putting yourself out there as the king, the best, the ultimate. That's what they do, and that's why rappers fight with each other, because they're all jockeying to be the number one, and they're bragging constantly on their rap songs. And so to have a guy who's the king of rap, really, do an album where he's like saying I'm sorry and he's contrite and humble, it's not something that we've seen before. It's incredible. It's really incredible, and it shows that once again Jay-Z is changing the game.
In October 2016, Beyonce seems to silence possible divorce rumors when she gives a shout out to Jay-Z during her final performance on the Formation World Tour during a performance of Halo, stating, "I love you so much." In more recent years, Jay-Z and Beyonce have been more open about their relationship and have taken a strong stance in terms of political views. In the 2016 presidential election, the couple supported Hillary Clinton at her rally in Cleveland, who in turn praised them for addressing oppression, racism, and the criminal justice system.
We have a woman who is an inspiration to so many others. I thank her. I thank Beyonce for standing up and showing the world
When Beyonce and Jay got really tight with the Obamas, it really opened up a lot of questions and speculation as to whether or not they had their own political ambitions. I don't know that they do ever intend to run for office, but I could see in the future them getting far more involved politically, perhaps setting up a lobbying group or foundation to release prisoners who were held unjustly, or to change drug laws, or to do something. I could see them in the future using their platform in more political, social ways.
Beyonce once again shocked the world when she dropped an announcement on Instagram that she and Jay were expecting twins.
The world loved the twin announcement. I think it was probably the most iconic pregnancy announcement that there's ever been. People have recreated that famous pose of the veil, the floral archway, and the baby bump countless times now. You had celebs gushing over how great she looked in it.
That's the thing about Beyonce, like whenever she does something, she does it like to the top of the game. I mean, coming out with an artistic picture like that announcement, it's pretty epic, as she is.
I think people were also pleased to see that it kind of signified that their relationship was perhaps back on track after all the rumours that there'd been.
The birth of her twins did not stop Beyonce from headlining the first of 2 weekends at the Coachella Music Festival. Her performance on April 14th, attended by 125,000 festival goers, was immediately praised, with multiple media outlets describing it as historic. The show paid tribute to Black culture, specifically historically Black colleges and universities, and featured a live band with over 100 dancers. Destiny's Child also reunited during the show. On June 6, 2018, Jay-Z and Beyonce kicked off the On the Run 2 tour in the United Kingdom.
I think the On the Run 2 tour was a massive announcement for them, because in the initial tour there were a lot of rumours and speculation that things weren't well behind the scenes. There was a lot of arguing. For them to go out again, it showed that they must be solid in their relationship, because why would you put yourself through that again if you weren't happy? They've both released these very personal albums. It seems like the perfect time to go on tour together, play the music from both, and kind of draw a line under the whole cheating thing and then look to the future with their kids and their family.
At their final London performance, the pair unveiled Everything Is Love, their much-awaited joint studio album, credited under the name The Carters.
Beyonce is someone to definitely watch, because she's someone that is setting trends. She's not someone that's following trends. And I think in the entertainment business and being able to stand out in the music industry, that says a lot.
They come out with something that is unique to them, that no one else can do, and then everyone tries to imitate it.
I honestly think that Beyonce never sought out a famous husband. What attracts her to Jay-Z is his strength and determination, because she has it too. It's like a mirror image. The reason Beyonce and Jay-Z are where they are is very simple. They are the best at what they do, and they've been given a God-given talent, but they also work at it. And also we respect them because they don't tell us everything about themselves.
I think we'll continue to see a lot of music released, but we also may see more management. As they get older, Jay particularly, he may decide to focus on managing other rappers. It may be that Beyonce, does the same with other groups or other singers. I think we will see shifts and changes. This couple has so much money. They're something around 1.5 billion, maybe even 2 billion by now. They don't need to do anything. They can just sit back and go on yachts. But they're talented, they're ambitious, they are strong-willed, and I don't see them slowing down anytime soon.
Like any couple, they've had their ups and downs, but it's been over 2 decades and they are now better than ever. Their epic musical contributions, like their joint project Everything Is Love, Bey's Lemonade visual album, and Jay's unofficial New York City theme song, Empire State of Mind, have solidified their position as two of the best artists of all time.